everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Captain Rookie, and today we are going to be reacting to Dining on the Orient Express with Max Miller, Tasting History with Max Miller. And let's go.
Epitome of luxury travel in Europe was the Orient Express, and that is in no small part due to the exquisite cuisine served aboard the train, like these lamb cutlets.
Oh, that looks so good. Chad, I'm hungry now. Chad, I'm hungry. I want
fried
num-nums.
in butter with creamy Duchess potatoes. So thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video as we ride the Orient Express, this time on Tasting History.
I want to ride Max. I mean, why do I say these things, man?
The Orient Express is probably the most famous train in history, though it wasn't actually just one train, but a long-distance railway service that operated numerous trains, all part of the Compagnie Internationale des Wagons-Lits, or International Sleeping Car Company.
It was a long railing. I will see myself out.
Running from Paris to Constantinople, later Istanbul, it enjoyed two golden ages. One was from about 1890 until World War I, and the second was between the two world wars. And in both periods, one of the most enticing aspects of the journey was the food being served. Now, starting in the 1890s and going up really all the way till World War II, the menus on the Orient Express and the other trains operated by the company really heavily relied on the recipes of Auguste Escoffier.
Oh, this is the guy that, all right, chat, little bit of history here. Get it? This guy basically invented how kitchens work, right? So when you have like the kitchen brigade, you basically have like a guy doing sauces and a guy doing salads and a guy doing meats and a guy doing fish. Like they all have their stations and they all have, and then you also have the head chef, the sous chef, the chef de partie, the chef of this and that. Like it's kind of like the military basically with all your ranks and stuff like that. That's this guy. This guy is responsible for codifying all of that.
At least when they were operating trains near Paris. They included some of his iconic dishes like lobster thermidor, peach melba, jambon agéli or ham aspic, and there were dozens of different potato and lamb cutlet recipes.
What the hell's an aspic? Chat, have you ever had an aspic? How do you pick an ass? Well, in my case, it's because they're in chat.
Which is what I'm going to be making today. A plate of his côtelette d'agneau à la minute, and one of his most famous recipes, pommes de terre duchesse, or Duchess potatoes. So, to make these Duchess potatoes,
they look
Escoffier
so
says
good.
to start off with a croquette mixture, for which you will need 2.5 pounds, or
I
more
love
than
croquettes.
1 kilogram of russet potatoes, 7 tablespoons, or 100 grams of butter, 2 teaspoons of salt, plus more for the water that we're going to boil the potatoes in, 1 teaspoon of white pepper, a pinch of nutmeg, and 1 whole egg plus 4 egg yolks at room temperature.
Chat, take notes.
So first cut the potatoes into even-sized pieces, and then add them to a pot and cover with water, then add a good amount of salt, about a tablespoon, and bring the water to a boil and let them cook for about 10 minutes until you
Chat,
can
do we
pierce
like
them with a
potatoes?
knife, though Escoffier says that they should still be quite firm at this.
I'm very much on the middle ground with potatoes. Like some I like, some I don't. I like chips. It's okay. Like chips or fries. Like I'm okay with that, but like, I'm not a big fan of hash browns or mashed potatoes. Oven potatoes I like. We do great oven potatoes here, but not really that big a fan of like, you know, a lot of potatoes. Oh fuck! I can't delete it. What do you want to delete, Brad? What do you want to delete? Aspagged? Aspagged? You hate potatoes too? Twin!
This point. Today, usually you would just boil them all the way and you're done with the cooking. But Escoffier says to first boil and then dry them out in the oven. So that's what we're going to do. So drain the potatoes and then set them on a lined baking sheet and bake at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, 205 Celsius for another 25 to 30 minutes or until they're very soft. At this point, take them out and pass them through a strainer. Now this can take quite a while, and at certain points you'll be like, nothing is happening, but I promise you, they will go through if you press them through. You can also use just like a ricer. It's going to be a lot faster, but it won't be quite as creamy. So do it the Escoffier way and press them through a strainer.
What's a ricer? Is that how they make Chinese people?
Then set the pot of potatoes over low heat and add in the butter and stir it in, and then add in the 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of white pepper, and that large pinch of nutmeg. Stir these all in and then take it off the heat. Now, touch the potatoes, and if they're warm, that's fine. But if they're quite hot, then you need to let them cool down till they are just warm, a little above room temperature, because we're going to add the eggs, and if you add them when they're too hot, they'll scramble and you'll have to start all over. But once the potatoes are just warm, add the egg yolks and the whole egg and mix everything in.
The way to not scramble your eggs is to beat them really hard. And I know that sounds really weird, but like the more movement you put into your eggs, the better it is, especially when heat exists.
Until it's completely
In the dish,
smooth.
that is.
Now, the exciting part of these potatoes is that you can shape them in different ways. And Escoffier gives us a few options in how to
Shape them into a needlefish. Can we have needlefish fries?
shape them. He says mold into the form of a small brioche à tête, bread rolls, or flat cakes, or pipe out with a piping bag and star tube onto a buttered tray. The brioche à tête sounds kind of interesting. It would basically be like a little ball of potato with another little ball on top, but the more traditional and frankly more impressive way to do it is to pipe them. So using a star tip, pipe large mounds of potato onto a parchment-lined baking sheet. This recipe should make between 6 and 10 depending on the size of mounds you want. Also, it does help to let the potatoes come to room temperature before piping because they'll be a little firmer and hold their shape better.
Ah, yes, I
once
like
you
a
pipe
firm
them,
potato.
You want them to be even firmer, so put them into the refrigerator for about an hour or so, uncovered, and this will let them be firm enough so that you can brush on some melted butter without ruining all of the wonderful piping that you just did.
I love
Once
it
you've
so
brushed on
much.
some melted butter, set the tray in the oven again at
Chat, melted butter makes everything better. Butter is so goated.
400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 25 minutes or until they are nicely browned on top. Now these potatoes, while delicious and creamy, do have a reputation for being a little dry, and that's because there isn't as much cream and butter as like a mashed potato because they need to hold their shape. So they are usually served with some sort of rather fatty meat, and for that today I'm going to be making côtelettes d'agneau à la minute. Cut the cutlets very thin. Season them and shallow fry in very hot clarified butter. Arrange them in a
yummy.
circle on a dish. Sprinkle with a little lemon juice and the cooking butter after adding a pinch of chopped parsley. Serve immediately. Simple but delicious. So for this, all you'll need is some very small lamb cutlets, and you want to cut them as thin as possible, and you want to get the smallest that you can. You don't want big old lamb chops. As small as you can.
You don't want the
Then
big
some
honkers.
clarified butter for frying. You'll also need some juice from fresh lemon and minced parsley for garnish. So season the lamb with a bit of salt and pepper, and then heat.
Why is my chat fighting over potatoes? Why are we fighting over potatoes? Potatoes are lovely. Rad, you know what? We can have Basher eat all the potatoes and we will eat... you can eat the pasta and the rice and I will eat the meat because I love big, thick meat in my mouth. That's already a TikTok. We don't need any more of this. The Irish would like to have a word with you. How about the British? Would they be fine with that? Arthur, weigh in. Fuck yeah, more potatoes for me. Exactly. What's your favorite potato, Basher?
Heat the clarified butter in a wide pan, and once it hits about 350 degrees Fahrenheit, carefully set the lamb in about 3 or 4 pieces at a time. Fry them on one side for 2 or 3 minutes, and then flip them over and fry on the other side until the lamb is cooked through and reaches an internal temperature of 145 degrees. As soon as they're cooked, take them out of the...
Hang on, did you say that British and Irish are the same thing? I mean, other than their proclivities for drinking a lot, no. No, they're not. No, they're not. They are not. Being addicted to loaded potatoes recently. Loaded baked potatoes, that's not a thing where I'm from, bro. I also really don't like jagged potatoes because it's just the potato, right? It's just potato. Like I like the crispy side. I like crunch. Basically, I don't like it the taste of potatoes. I don't like the fluffy. I don't like it fluffy. I like it crispy.
The butter and set them aside for 2 to 3 minutes just to rest while you transfer your Duchess potatoes onto a plate and then plate the lamb, sprinkle with a bit of parsley, and
It's such a
drizzle
good
with a bit
name
of the
too,
lemon
Duchess
mixed with the butter
potatoes.
that the lamb was fried in. That lemon butter is really the best part of this dish. Anyway, I love frying things in clarified butter, but I can't imagine doing it on a train, sloshing about as it's going down the rails. But that is exactly what the cooks on the Orient Express did. They were cooking while the train was in motion. But that's what you had to do if you wanted to provide your passengers with the freshest haute cuisine available on the
And me barely able to tap a button on my radio as I drive.
rails. And that brings up the question, what exactly was it like to ride and dine?
British people are just Irish, but with no guineas. Okay, don't start a war in my chat. Don't do that. Not all potatoes are French fries. Yeah, but they're better. French fries are goated, so they should be. They should aspire to be.
On the Orient Express. The origin of the Orient Express actually begins in America, where in 1867
America!
a Belgian civil engineer, Georges Nagelmakers, rode in one of the new Pullman train cars, which were the pinnacle of luxury, both in sleeping accommodations and in dining. He was so impressed with these Pullman train cars that he decided to go back to Europe and start a train company with cars that would rival the Pullmans. The issue was that in America, you could get on the train and ride for several days uninterrupted. But in Europe at the time, pretty much all of the train tracks and the trains were run by individual countries. So every time you crossed a border, you would have to get out of the train, go through customs, take all of your luggage off, and then usually...
It's just like highways nowadays as well. Like there are highways, like you pay toll fares as well. To go from, I mean, you don't have to get out of the car and take your luggage out, you just pay the toll.
Usually get onto a completely different train before going another few hundred miles until you reach the next country. But Georges had a plan, and he had the contacts to make this plan happen, because he was family friends with King Leopold II of Belgium. Now, King Leopold II
That's
is
a
in many ways
beard and
one
a
of
half.
the greatest monsters in history. He was responsible for millions, possibly like 10 million deaths in the Belgian Congo.
Oh yeah, he's the guy, he's the Belgian king, right? That like killed a lot of Congolese and like was responsible for a lot of slavery and butcher. Yeah. He's a great guy.
But he was also a train enthusiast, and he was very powerful and well connected.
King Leo had the tism. King Leo had the tism. One of us. What? I need to find some Congo people to kill. No, rookie. Bad rookie.
And that is what Georges needed. So with King Leopold II's help, Georges was able to convince all of these different countries to work together to allow this one train to go freely between the countries, basically all the way across Europe. And after some false starts and a few test runs on a smaller scale, the Orient Express made its inaugural trip in October of 1883. Sort of. Because technically the Orient Express couldn't get from Paris to Constantinople at the time because there weren't train tracks for this last part. So you actually had to go from Paris to a town just south of Bucharest, and then you would take a ferry across the Danube to Bulgaria, where you would take an entirely different train to Varna on the Black Sea, and once you arrived at Varna, you had to take a steamship to Constantinople. It wasn't until August of 1888 that the train could go unimpeded all the way from
false
Paris
advertising.
to the Ottoman
Okay.
capital. But even in those early years, the cuisine was supposedly top-notch and was definitely something to be talked about. In fact, one of the first people to ever ride on that inaugural train, who just happened to be a reporter, wrote, "In the front of the train, the dining car, with its curtains coquettishly raised, casts an extraordinary luster on the whole scene."
I really miss the time where we could write this well. Coquettishly raised, casts an extraordinary luster on the whole scene. That is such good words. They are good words. Nowadays it'd be like, the curtains were in the skibidi and it was open and there was light coming in 6-7.
Large gas lights illuminate a veritable banquet hall. The tables, side by side, those with 4 seats on the right, those with 2 seats on the left, in 7 rows, are set up in a most sumptuous manner. The bright white tablecloths and napkins are artistically folded by the restaurant's sommelier. The crystal clear sparkle of the glassware, filled with rubies of red wine and topaz of white. The pure crystal water decanters and the silver caps of the champagne bottles dazzle the crowd.
Why
both
couldn't I
inside
have been
and
rich?
outside, a contrast to the sorrow of parting seen
old.
on their faces. And the dining car wasn't just the restaurant, but it also had a drawing room for the ladies with wonderful plush velvet chairs, and then a library/smoking room for the men that had leather armchairs and bookcases filled with books, maps, and newspapers, which were swapped in.
What if a woman wanted to read? Oh, with shooter. Okay.
in and out at each country they passed through. The dining room itself, lit by gaslight chandeliers, was furnished with wall tapestries, silk
Can I borrow a book? She's a witch. Get her out.
drapes, and leather and velvet chairs. And there were tables of 4 and of 2 and could seat 42 passengers in all. The tables were set with fresh flowers, polished silverware, porcelain china, and baccarat crystal glasses, just like you would find in any of the fine Parisian or London hotel restaurants of the day. And because of the international nature of the train, the staff in the early years were expected to speak multiple languages. Usually it was French, German, and English, or Italian, and sometimes other languages like Turkish. In fact,
Hang on. Chin up, you're at least one of those things, not the rich one, unless you're hiding something from the IRS. We don't have IRS here, but we do have our version of the IRS, and I am hiding absolutely nothing from them. They're very good. We should have, dude. If we sent the IRS to find Osama bin Laden, we would have found him in like 2 days. Y'all would have, I don't know why we're saying we. You. If you sent the IRS to find Osama bin Laden, you'd have found them in 2 days. Okay, those people are really good at finding you. They'll find you. Give us your money. They'll find you. I would have liked to be rich. Have all the money. Chat, what would you do with money? What would you do? I would buy more guitars. I would probably... The joke missed Rookie by a mile. Well, I don't know if you know this, Rad, but I am very smart and not at all retarded. So someone needs to explain the joke to Rookie. Explain the joke to your dumb VTuber. Or suffer the consequences of not having it reacted to.
in 1894, it was said that collectively the entire staff on the train could speak 50 different languages and dialects.
Damn!
Now, the kitchen staff on the train usually were all French, and they worked in some of the best French hotel restaurants that Paris had to offer before getting courted and working on the train. And they all worked under the chef de cuisine. And in October of 1883, someone wrote of the genius of how this chef put together the menu. See, as
With age comes wisdom, but it skipped this one. You said you wanted to be rich and old. Uh-huh. And the joke was that you just called me old. I know, I got the joke, I just didn't find it very funny. But maybe it's the dementia acting up. Maybe this particular unk is not in the mood for your freaking for your freaking hoot nanny. Okay? Maybe you little kids need to... Okay, I should probably call you the kids. Maybe you kids need to go back to the basement. Go back to the island.
As you crossed from country to country, from France and Austria and Bulgaria and all these other countries, the menu would change to reflect the country that you were in. So yes, you would still have some French food, obviously, but you would also have some cuisine from the location that you're at. This genius of a man has prepared us dishes of exquisite flavor, with menus varied by the countries which we pass through. Danube sterlet, fresh Romanian caviar, and Turkish pilaf, while the sommelier follows suit, pouring us the most illustrious vintages of the Moselle, the Rhine, of Hungary, and Romania.
Chad, do we like wine?
And not
I'm
only was the
not a
food
wine guy.
excellent, but according to one American traveler,
I don't like wine very much. I mean, I used to, but like I prefer beer now a lot more. Like when I drink, when I go out and drink, like I'll probably have a beer. I'm not a big wine person. Never really was. Red wine makes me burpy.
it was well priced as well. Cy Warman said the food was equal to the best in any country, and the rates are reasonable. You have 3 good meals for $2.55, which in
Okay,
America,
well, I guess then fuck me, right? You all love wine, apparently. You and your hubby and all the bitches love wine. Apparently, they all love wine. I'm the odd one out. Okay, I guess fuck the VTuber, right?
in the average dining car would cost $3. Well, by golly, that is a deal. He was also really impressed with the sleeping arrangements on the train because most trains in the US at that time were kind of done in a dormitory style, so you were sleeping right next to someone with just a little curtain between you, unless you were paying for like a suite on one of the Pullman trains. But on the Orient Express, a compartment
Bro, imagine the farting and the snoring. The smell. Jesus.
holds 2 or 4 people, and often, with the judicious expenditure of a few francs, the voyager can secure a small compartment all to himself, and he is quite as secluded and comfortable as he would be in the stateroom of a Pullman or Wagner. Now, while we are making an Orient Express dinner, the day, of course, would have started out with an Orient Express breakfast, and this was usually different kinds of eggs and an assortment of meats and fruit and different pastries. But according to Joseph Riley, an Englishman who was traveling in 1889, he said most of the passengers just didn't really eat anything, but just drank a cup of tea or coffee or a glass of wine. And I guess they were on vacation, so why shouldn't they have wine for breakfast? And maybe they were just saving room for lunch, because lunch could be 7 to 10 courses, and it was supposedly so excellent that if you were royalty, you would get on to eat even if you didn't have anywhere to go. At Sofia, Prince Ferdinand of Bulgaria got into the train. It appeared that...
Is this the guy they shot and started World War I?
Prince Ferdinand's pastime was to...
No, wait, that's Archduke Ferdinand. I'm not smart.
Join the train in this way, have his déjeuner on board, get out at the frontier, and return to his capital by the next train. It seems a curious mode of enjoyment, but probably Bulgaria was less lively than it has become since. Anyhow, we presently saw some
the shade at Bulgaria
walking about and asked for some, but were told that this was a déjeuner commandé, and we could not share it, to which deprivation we resigned ourselves. Dinner was similarly delicious, but far more fancy, because on the train, dinner was a black tie affair. Men would dress in their best, and women would put on their best gowns and jewels, and it was very, very formal. Though there was one time on the train that you should eat dinner before you actually get on the train, and that is when you are leaving Istanbul to head back to Paris, because there was no diner car when it left Istanbul. The diner car didn't actually meet up with it until it got to Bulgaria. So just in time for breakfast, so make sure to eat before you get on board. Now, the first golden age of the Orient Express came to a rather abrupt halt at the outbreak of World War I. Though one of the dining cars used by the Wagonlit Company actually played a pivotal role when, on November 11, 1918, German officers signed their surrender in a dining car known as the Compiègne Wagon. Unfortunately, the Germans used...
Okay. Chad, do we know much about World War I? I tried researching it, and it's one of those things where it's like, you get a lot of viewpoints, but it's a lot of a lot happened in World War I. A lot happened, and a lot of it's convoluted.
Used that same dining car in a bit of spite in 1940 when they demanded the surrender of the French to the German army during World War II.
Oh.
And it was never used again because Hitler had it blown up when he realized he was going to lose the war, just so the Allies couldn't get their hands on it again. Now, between these two world wars, well, that is the second and most glorious golden...
He probably could have used that bomb to blow up something else, but yeah, let's blow up a cart.
...age of the Orient Express. And in the 1920s, just a couple years after it came back into service, it was redesigned with steel carriages, which offered a more comfortable ride. And they'd also been designed with the modern Art Deco interiors that would come to be so iconic. And
those are so pretty. I just want to look at this picture again. I love this art style. These are just so pretty. Why can't we bring this back, chat? Can we bring this back? It's just so pretty.
Been designed with the modern Art Deco interiors that would come to be so iconic. And this was the train that featured in Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express. Now, when she published that book, there had never been a Murder on the Orient Express. But I guess she jinxed it, because only about a year after she published it, in 1935, somebody was murdered. It was a wealthy Romanian fashion designer. She was robbed and pushed out the window and found on the side of the tracks a little while later. Now, 2 years after she published...
So we put her out the window. I mean, based. Nope. My brain is fried. We should not say these things, Rookie.
Her novel, another novelist, Beverly Nichols, wrote of actual experience on the train, and while it didn't include any murder, it did include lunch. A bell tinkles in the corridor of the Orient Express. Lunch! We get up with hunger gnawing at our inside, filled with delight at the prospect of eating crisp rolls and potato mayonnaise, and veal and petit pois, and slabs of fromage de pays, washed down by white wine drunk from a tumbler, which is the only way to drink white wine. And not only
Amen.
does the prospect of the food allure us, but the fact that we shall be devouring it in a fantastic chariot of steel and glass, hurling through a foreign country. There must be something seriously wrong with the man who does not enjoy lunching in the train. Now, the second golden age
He's probably
of the
murdered.
train ended at the outbreak of World War II, and while it did return to service after the war, its golden age never really returned. Partly it was because of the Iron Curtain. Europe was now divided in two, and the train traveling through so many Soviet countries became a logistical nightmare when it came to travel visas. Also, there was the proliferation of air travel.
Yeah,
So why
you also had probably a lot of personal vehicles, and what happens is during the aftermath of World War II, I don't think a lot of people wanted to travel a lot either. It was just a time where you just spend it with your family and rebuild, and there wasn't even the opportunity to travel a lot either. I mean, people were poor. People were really poor during the time.
take several days to go across Europe when you could take several hours instead? This is not to say that the luxury of the Orient Express ended, quite the opposite. In fact, it just got more and more luxurious because the train itself ended up becoming the destination. You didn't take it from Paris to Istanbul because you needed to get from Paris to Istanbul. You took it because you wanted to ride on the Orient Express. It's kind of like the difference between taking an ocean liner to get from England to New York rather than taking a cruise where you're not really going.
Never take a cruise, people. Never take a cruise. Cruises are horrible. Cruises are horrible, man. They're just horrible. They're just like, I've read somewhere that they were called the incubators of the sea, and I have family members who work on cruises. Do not go on a cruise. Do not go on a cruise. They're terrible. They're terrible. That being said, I have family members who are just about to go to a cruise in the next month. So, yeah. Let's hope those vaccines are working.
Going anywhere, you just want to be on a cruise ship. But the train continued to be in service between Paris and Istanbul until 1977 and still ran other routes until 2009 when it ceased operation. Though in recent years, a completely restored version of the Orient Express, which is supposed to be really luxurious, has been out on the tracks again, and you can actually ride the Orient Express. And supposedly,
it doesn't feel the same though. It doesn't feel the same. It feels like a very nice, luxurious hotel, but very modern. Like where's the Art Deco stuff? Hang on, after the recent event involving a cruise, I'll stay away from them. Yeah. Can we mention the hantavirus? Can we say that? Am I gonna get... I cruise a lot, but on like 10 people. But that's not a cruise. That's more... That's your job, too. You put children on a boat and then you take them away.
luxurious has been out on the tracks again, and you can actually ride the Orient Express. And supposedly, they even try to recreate some of the earlier dishes from the golden age of the Orient Express.
I love stuff like this.
I don't know if they make these exact Auguste Escoffier recipes that I am about to
We
eat
haven't
now.
eaten them yet.
And here we are. Lamb cutlets fried in butter with creamy
Nummies.
Duchess potato.
Also, can we appreciate the cutlery for a second? Can we appreciate the cutlery? Just like, I'm having orgasm.
So the potatoes, you can actually just pick them up, but that's not classy. So you should cut into them. They're really, they look firmer than like a mashed potato. Let's give it a try.
They're gonna be awesome.
I never test the temperature of my food before I eat it. It's a really bad habit, and it often burns my mouth. I have no patience, I guess. Quite warm. But once I got past the burning, the texture is actually really nice. They are drier than like a mashed potato, but they're also creamier at the same time. Like the texture is so soft and smooth because we pressed it through the sieve. When it comes to the flavor,
Hang on, did you say I have a cutlery fetish? It's not a fetish. I just really like them.
they're really rich. Like you can really taste all of that butter in there. They're often made with cream today. It's like part cream, part butter. So that might change the
Cream makes
texture.
everything better.
But these, with all the butter and the egg, they're just so rich. But it does need some of that fat from the lamb.
Again,
I'm
cream
going to
makes
try
everything
right
better.
now, especially when you drizzle on that lemon butter. Oh, so good. Here we go.
Oh yes, nummies.
That lemon butter is heavenly.
I gotta try that at some
they're
point.
perfectly cooked. Like I said, you want to get them nice and thin because if they're too thick, they'll start to burn on the outside before it's totally cooked all the way
They'll
through.
never be pink.
And you don't really want any char or anything like that. You want it tender all the way through. They're so flavorful. I could eat like a dozen of these because they're so small. But on the train, this would have been one of like 7 or 8 courses. So
Wow.
you would just want to take a couple bites and then move on to the next dish. I didn't make 7 or 8 courses, so I'll be eating all of these. They're absolutely wonderful if you like lamb, which I do. Fantastic. And I'm going to put both of these recipes up on the Tasting History website, tastinghistory.com, which I made with help from today's sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace makes building
All right, I think we're done. All right. we don't do ads here. Only I do ads here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like. Please leave a subscribe. Send this to your grandmother. Maybe she'll make you those lovely lamb chops. And I will see you some other time. Bye-bye.